Hi guys, in this video we are talking about Star Wars Episode 9 Rise of Skywalker. Rey and her ragtag of resistance fighters are squaring off one last time against Kylo Ren and the First Order and a new looming threat from the past Great War. At the time of this recording, the movie is already out in Sydney, Australia, and the review embargo has been lifted already. Now, coming into this movie, there were already some trailers and added tidbits released by Disney and Lucasfilms. Not to mention, Sweden audiences already spoiled the movie and released the information in the internet. But I tried to hold off so that it won't affect my bias coming to this movie. So let me say first that I am not that much of a Star Wars fan. That being said, I am well aware of the movie's overall narrative. JJ Abrams, the director of Episode 7, A New Hope, had to return to direct Episode 9 after director of Episode 8, Rian Johnson, made such a controversial movie. I don't want to do comparisons, but I'm doing it for the sake of argument. Another Disney property, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, has Kevin Feige. With his oversight, he has the grand scheme of things in mind, and his directors are there to not just make creative choices, but to make sure that it sticks with his grand scheme so it can be tied with the other movies. That's why Avengers Endgame is called the culmination of 20 movies worth of storytelling. But that's Marvel. This is Star Wars. Rise of Skywalker is supposedly the culmination of 9 movies. Despite Disney owning Lucasfilms and Star Wars, the property does not have a Kevin Feige to have a grand master plan. They have Kathleen Kennedy, the right-hand person of George Lucas, to oversee things in Lucasfilms. The difference between the two directors is evident if you saw Episode 8 and then watching Episode 9. Abrams had to tiptoe around what Johnson's mess that you will end up scratching your head on some key points about this movie. Rian Johnson stuck the middle finger to the fans and their fan theories after Abrams' Episode 7 that he went out of his way to make sure to subvert all of those theories aside. And it showed here, as I would point out some examples. One of the major problems that I observed were the reveals. Right in the beginning, the opening crawl will just surprise you of a major exposition without prior context or foreshadowing from the past films. If you saw the latest trailers, you might know what the reveal is going to be, but right then and there, the movie is telling you that we are wrapping this up and we will speed run this so you can fight the final boss, basically. Another reveal is General Leia Skywalker, Princess Leia Organa. The actress portraying her, Carrie Fisher, died last 2016, but she was able to film all of her shots for Episode 8 when Episode 8 was released back in 2017. Because of the events of Episode 8, they had to use extra footage of her and then add it here in Episode 9 and write circles around it just to make sense of the movie story. In this movie, albeit not being there a lot for obvious reasons, she played an integral part of Rey's character development. In addition, Rian Johnson, the previous director, did something with Leia that even most Marvel superhero characters cannot even do. To explain that, JJ Abrams had to put some exposition just to explain the deal with Leia. But to me, it was not enough to convince me of everything that led up to this point of the movie. Another reveal was Rey's lineage. Fans have theorized that Rey was somehow related to the Skywalker bloodline. However, Rian Johnson did not give a rat's ass about those fan theories, so he just let Kylo Ren drop a bombshell on Rey about where she came from in Episode 8. Here, Kylo Ren had to say, "Oh, about what I said about your parents, it just so happens I forgot to tell you something very important about them that I just remembered just now." So Abrams made a creative decision that if Rey is not a direct or at least somewhat related to the Skywalker bloodline, then there is only one other place to go from there. Not to mention Rey and Kylo Ren in this movie were made to look so overpowered, but they tend to borderline between not fully mastering their force abilities and just pulling stunts out of their asses for plot conveniences. Aside from the reveals, another thing that I observed was the use of the trope that to get from point A to point B, they need to get to point C. In episode 8, to resolve a conflict, they had to go somewhere and find some person to resolve that said conflict. Here, they did the same thing with episode 9. For the resistance to fight back against the main antagonist of the movie, they had to go somewhere first in order to get to the final stage of the upcoming battle. In this movie, they revealed a certain MacGuffin, all of a sudden to be the catalyst of the plot. Although the movie said that there were 2 of these MacGuffins, then the movie spent the entire second act of getting that MacGuffin. They ended up with nothing. And then it was revealed conveniently that the other MacGuffin was just sitting right there, and the returning character had to point it out, but the characters refused to take the clue and decided to take the convoluted route instead. Speaking of returning characters, everyone who is still alive to this day gets to reprise or make cameos of their roles. Even a particular spacecraft and a particular space station made cameos in this movie. Up until the very end of the movie, they had to bring everything back full circle and just show you the same thing that Luke Skywalker saw before he left Tatooine. What about the characters of this trilogy? Well, Finn is still thirsty for Rey. He is just there, but he was given something to do at the third act. Rose is still thirsty for Finn, and she was given a few lines to say. Chewbacca will be reunited with another friend, which, by the way, this friend said a line, "Give my love to Leia," which kind of choked me up for a bit, because I like to think that that was an homage from Billy D. Williams to Carrie Fisher. The droids are back. BB-8, of course, had to make himself useful here. C-3PO was given something important to do as well. R2-D2 was given something to do. Oh, and a new droid had to be put in there, just for the sake of toy marketing. Poe is being treated the Han Solo of the bunch up until a great responsibility was given to Poe at the very end that he didn't ask for. Oh, and did I say Han Solo? Oops. One last thing that I'm letting out is the third act's set piece. Eventually, the Resistance will end up fighting with the newly restored threat to the galaxy. So, since the movie makes you believe that the threat has the power and numbers, you cannot help but to think that the entire Resistance may not be enough. And again, in making another comparison with Avengers Endgame, Captain America was surprised with his reinforcements against Thanos, and we audience were excited as well because we knew and we cared about those characters who showed up to help and contributed something to the fight. Here, when the movie reached to that point, you will be surprised about the help, but you will ask yourself, where the hell did those guys came from? Even the movie itself was aware enough to ask itself, where the hell did those guys came from? So not only that the entire story did so little to explain itself with the remaining time that it had, the excitement died down as quick as it started. I know what was happening somewhere else is important, but if they are going to live up with the name Star Wars, they could have at least spent a little bit more time on the actual war instead of the heroes blasting their way here and there while the villains, despite their military might, are only there as effective as the main antagonist was there just to dish out some electricity, if you know what I mean. So overall, the question is this movie worth seeing or not? For me, it depends. If you are a casual moviegoer that is easily swayed by the spectacle, the special effects, the set pieces, then you will enjoy the movie to an extent. Go ahead and see it. If you are the kind of moviegoer that has somehow followed the narrative of the whole Skywalker saga of Star Wars, then the obvious flaws that I personally pointed out will affect your enjoyment in terms of storytelling. Just wait for the DVD, the Blu-ray release, or just stream it when it's available in Disney+. To me, the lack of insight and careful planning made the last trilogy of Star Wars dwindle in the eyes of the fans that tried so hard to stick by. The previous director laid the foundation and the groundwork for the grand story, but the last director decided to drill and dig it up, making it unrecognizable. That the company had to hire the former director back to fix the latter's mess. At the time of this recording, the Rotten Tomatoes score for episode 9 is around 50 to 60%. I'm guessing most of the reviewers are Star Wars fans more than I am. Anyways, if you saw the movie as well, what are your thoughts? Maybe you guys can correct me on some things that I said, as I only seen the movie once and I don't think I'm going to see it again in the theaters. I would like to dwell into some more details, but that would mean spoiling the entire movie altogether. I don't know, maybe I might make a spoiler review if this video gets more than 10 likes or so. Well, that is all I have to say, guys, and don't forget to like, link, and subscribe to my channel, and be sure to turn on those notifications for future content. May the Force be with you, always.